Hello KM6LYW radio viewers. Hey, we're doing antenna stuff today. This is the antenna proving ground for the KM6LYW radio laboratory. You notice there's no wires, there's no metal, there's no gutters. We can tune up an antenna here, and we do have a new antenna, and I want to talk to you about how trimming an antenna, or extending, make it longer, if you have a wire stretcher, making it shorter, what are some of the factors you have to consider. Everyone wants a resonant antenna, especially if you're operating QRP, because most of us don't have antenna tuners. Okay, so we have an antenna here that I just started playing with. This is from Tim Ortiz on eBay. Tim Ortiz on eBay. This is called a linked dipole, which means it's kind of like 3 or 4 antennas in one, depending on how many links you have. So what's really cool about Tim's design here, I don't know if I can get this off. Maybe I'll just demonstrate it. So this part is just a T connector, right, for the two dipole leads, and then there's also a 1-to-1 balloon that you can insert in line with your feed line, and this is incredibly light. Obviously this is for low power, and that's cool, and this is really light gauge wire. So far it's been pretty strong. And a linked dipole, if you don't know what one is, we're going to follow a feed line down here. I know you're not going to be able to see this. And a linked dipole, check out how cool this design is. So there's a link, there's paracord clasps, and then there's also some bullet connectors here that we can disconnect and create a link and extend our antenna with these additional legs. And now this leg right here is a 40-meter leg, and this is the end of it. Actually, it has a cool end on it where you can tie a lark's head knot on there, so you don't have to tie knots in general. But you notice I had to extend this a little bit, and I don't know why exactly. Every time that I buy a antenna, I always attribute this to bad luck, but I always have to trim it to some extent, or to a large extent. And this one was no exception. And I honestly didn't know why. I always figured it was my height. I'm only getting up about 24 feet, so maybe the people designing the antennas aren't getting it high enough or low enough. I don't know, but I also got to thinking that this is the great state of California, and right here is a California rock. This is the state rock for California. This is called serpentine, otherwise known as ultramafic rock. If you dig a hole anywhere around here, you are going to find that it is everywhere, this green rock. And this is made out of silicone, magnesium, and iron. And you'd think being full of silicone and magnesium and iron, it'd be really a good conductor. It's not. I think silicone is the primary component. I was trying to see how conductive this rock is, and again, it's proposed that this is what the mantle of the earth is made out of, is this green ultramafic rock. I guarantee it's everywhere. So when you're putting your antenna up and you're worried about height, you really need to know not only where your ground level is, the visible ground level is right here, but your effective ground level might be somewhere far below what you see here, depending on how conductive your soil is. A lot of times if your soil is wet, that'll completely change your result. So when you're trimming an antenna, try to come up with your average type of ground. In California, we're usually over ultramafic rock, which is bedrock, which may or may not conduct. I really don't know. Maybe we have a geologist to tell us. And so your effective ground is what you're after. So obviously you want to be about a half wavelength height. For portable operations, I can get about 24 feet. I have this mast over here that has a fiberglass end on it, and I use that. But I really don't know if I'm a half a wavelength above the effective ground level. I really don't know. So when you're trimming an antenna, it's important to note that as the closer you get to the effective ground, the slower the resonant frequency is. So let's say you're at 7.1 megahertz. If you lower the antenna down, it'll start resonating at maybe 7.0 megahertz, and that depends on your distance to ground. So that's something to think about. Now, try and tune your antenna at the proposed height over the proposed terrain or geological features, so the effective ground is always the same. So if your antenna is lower, it's going to resonate lower. If it's resonating too low, you're going to need to cut it, right, to make it shorter, which makes it resonate faster. Those are things to consider when you're putting together one of these antennas, and that's exactly what I've done here. I got a grab bag of instruments and whatnot, SWR meter, and ultimately the final feed line that I'm going to use with this antenna. So this is a linked dipole, again by Tim Ortiz on eBay. and he sold a gazillion of these. So this version is the 20 meter, 30 meter, and 40 meter. So when you buy the antenna, you get this guy, which is a splitter, and then this 1-to-1 current bay loom. And these legs right here are for 20 meters, and they terminate with little clasps. And then you can swap the extensions. You can put 30 meter extensions on or 40 meter extensions on. Now, a traditional dipole would probably have one length of wire with breaks and links in it. This one isn't like that. I asked him, he says, well, it's less robust if we do it that way. I don't know, maybe you can design one differently or go with this one, but I really like what Tim put together here. But I did have to trim it, and I thought I'd share with you guys the trials and tribulations of getting an antenna up there and getting it trimmed just right. So an antenna, when someone says they're resonant and work right out of the box, yeah, I'm sure they do on the soil type and elevation that was used when they designed the antenna. Unfortunately, you just can't make all of that happen here worldwide when you're making antennas. All right, I just want to share this is a field trip for the KM6 LYW radio community. I'm about to hook up the 705 here and see if I can get some contacts. I know that I'm completely centered on 20, 30, and 40 meters. In fact, if anything, they're on the low side because, well, I like to operate digital modes. All right, guys, this has been a KM6 LYW quickie out here at the KM6 LYW antenna testing ground. And we've got a winner here with Tim Ortiz's linked dipole that you can get on eBay. And I'm going to fire it up. Maybe I'll see one of you guys. I'm going to try 30 meters. So maybe I'll see you guys on 30 meters. This is KM6 LYW, and I'm clear. All right, and everything's hooked up, and we are doing, oh boy, this is really hard to see, but we are on 40 meters actually. Talking to KD6OAT in, you guys can see that, in Utah, exchanging email. A little dodgy today, but man, we're making it, and this dipole is working great. And of course, postfix 2 or addendum 2, appendix 2. We're sending and receiving email just fine on 40, and this is what the antenna looks like fully deployed. So see if I can see the balloon up there. I'm gonna zoom it in for you guys, and there it is right there. Again, that's a fiberglass mast, right? And then I don't know if you can follow the lines out, but I have cool little flexible stakes out there. Flexible is better, that way you can have tension without breakage. And there's the other end. All right, this is field operations testing for the KM6 LYW backyard.